You're listening to the Cultivating Careers in Alternative Proteins podcast, a podcast which features students and early career professionals who work in the alternative protein industry, where they discuss their journeys and deliver advice on how you can start a career in this revolutionary field. Welcome to episode 20, a milestone achievement for the podcast. I'd like to give a big shout out to all of you for listening over the past year and a half. It has been an exhilarating journey, and your comments along the way have inspired and motivated me to continue. So thank you very much. To show my appreciation, I want to share with you one of the most extensive job boards in the alternative protein industry, which is the one created by Talist. It has over 1,500 jobs posted every month from more than 1,000 organizations. In addition, the filtering options are quite wide-ranging and allow you to hone in on exactly what you're looking for. A link to the job board is provided in the show notes. And now, on to the guest for this episode. Sandra Einvall was a marketer at Brave New Food, a Dutch organization that connects food innovators together to accelerate the transition to a sustainable food system. However, she recently transitioned to working full-time on Fikat, the sustainable Swedish plant-based treat startup she founded in 2021. While studying graphic design, Sandra started the Vegan Student Association Utrecht and grew it to be the biggest vegan student association in the Netherlands. During this time, she also completed social media and design internships at Lazy Vegan, a frozen vegan convenience meal company. In my conversation with Sandra, we discussed the perceptions of the term vegan and why she prefers the term plant-based, as well as how having a career in plant-based foods has transformed her. Alright, that's enough spoilers. Here's the conversation. Welcome, Sandra, to the Cultivating Careers in Alternative Proteins podcast. I'm super excited to have you on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Alright, so how did you first hear about alternative proteins?
That was quite a while ago. I think I was 15, 16 when the Conspiracy movie came out. And then I watched that together with my family. And that was basically the first time I ever really looked into vegetarian and vegan options and hearing the reasons why you would be vegetarian and vegan. And after that movie, I turned vegetarian. So that was kind of a big thing. Everything became really clear after that movie. Also for my sibling. We turned vegetarian together, but didn't become like a big passion of mine until I moved from home, when I could make my own decisions, what I want in my fridge, and then I also turned vegan. That was the big wow moment, that alternative protein is a thing. Like, as a whole, I had no idea that that was even remotely popular in other places, since I come from a very small town in Sweden, and there was not hip at all to be vegetarian.
I guess back then there probably weren't very many alternative protein companies around.
No, not really. Or maybe if you go to a big supermarket, you can still find things. But yeah, in restaurants and stuff, no, barely any options. If you would go to a big city, sure. But yeah, in this small town, nah, it was really very little. But it was okay. It's definitely doable. Still could have some vegetarian burgers and stuff. Just not the very fancy vegan fish alternatives and nice cheese and stuff.
Right. Yeah, the industry has come a long way.
Yeah, for sure. It's amazing.
So what was really the main motivating factor for you to pursue a career in the alternative protein industry?
Well, it actually wasn't my plan when I started my career. I studied graphic design because I always liked visual things and bringing a message. And then slowly in my bachelor, in the second year, I realized that, oh my gosh, you can actually do something creative and work with your passion. So that is when I decided to focus more on getting into marketing and what you could do to make people want to be vegan or even more open to veganism. So that's when I combined the two, because the thought of just doing design and just doing pure marketing for any company didn't really seem fulfilling enough, since veganism and the alternative protein sector is truly a passion, like something that I could really see myself working with for every day. And just working for a normal company, just doing fancy, good looking things, will just not be as fulfilling in the long term.
Fair enough. On the note of fulfillment and creativity, I know you worked at the Lazy Vegan. What project there were you the most proud of?
Well, that was when I was still doing my study. So I was doing first a graphic design internship, and then I did a social media internship. So I started with the graphic design things, and then I basically looked at all their outings, everything they do on socials, websites, everything visual. And I came up with this idea to make everything just more clear, to strip down to the basics, because they were very broad. They had multiple color schemes, multiple different ways of creating designs. And then we basically stripped it down to the basics and made it more aligned to the brand. But it did make a big difference on especially their Insta that we were focusing on. And it just made everything look more aligned to the brand, more easy to see that it was Lazy Vegan, and truly the less is more kind of strategy. And it worked really well. And they're still using it to this day. So that's really nice.
Okay, and what were your takeaways from that experience?
I think that just really made me grow in my visual identity, how I like to design things, what my style is. The less is more, stripped down to the Scandinavian minimalism, which I really love. And colors are nice, but I am very down to one or two colors or just a lot of black and white. So I think I just found my style working together with the Lazy Vegan team. That was my first experience with a vegan company and how they do their branding and how they talk to people about their ready meals. And it was just very interesting to see how a brand works when they have the word vegan literally in the name. It screams vegan. It's not a little secret tactic, it is in the name. So then the kind of feedback you get from people is, of course, very different from, let's say, my company, Fikat, where it's not that obvious that it is vegan. And we don't even use the word vegan on purpose. We only say plant-based. So that was also very interesting to see how people react to it, and that a lot of people don't want to try it or don't feel open to it because it says vegan on it, and hearing their reasons.
So on that note, do you think the word vegan has maybe more of a negative connotation associated with it?
Yeah, for sure. I think people think of the word vegan like, okay, then you're an activist, then you are against the standard, kind of, which I get. Plant based is more what something is. Well, an activist can be vegan and you can eat plant based, but it's very different from being vegan. So I completely get why someone will feel, oh, well, vegans, I don't like vegans, or oh, does it say vegan here? Well, then it's probably meant for activists or someone that is very against the current system and everything. So I think it makes sense. But yeah, for sure, people are way more open to when it just says plant based versus if it says vegan, in my experience, at least.
Yeah, I would probably tend to agree with that. I've noticed a lot of products in the supermarket tend to use the term plant-based over vegan. And my guess is that's probably why people are more accepting of it.
Yeah, the commitment of eating something plant based is very low, but just tapping into the word vegan is a lot bigger, since that is a lifestyle way broader than what you just eat. Also, I really try to not use vegan at all when I'm talking about Fikat or when I'm writing content for Fikat. It's always plant-based, purely for this reason. I don't want to scare people off that you have to be vegan or that our target group is vegans or something. The target group is anyone that is open and positive to plant-based.
Right. So given the difficulty of marketing the term vegan, how did you manage to start and grow the Vegan Student Association Utrecht?
Then, of course, the focus is to get the attention of vegans. So then it made perfect sense to have vegan in the name, since we wanted to attract vegans or vegetarians or anyone that is open to it. But then you really have to be open to the word vegan. That can't scare you off, because then you don't want to be in that association anyway. I was basically doing this full time, because at my graphic design bachelor, in the 4th year, you make your own project. And they were so sweet in letting me do kind of whatever I wanted. And in the 2nd or 3rd year, I realized I wanted to do more of the marketing part and less of the graphic design. So then I managed to convince my mentors that I wanted to start VSA and use my marketing skills and graphic design skills to build up the brand and market it. And that was allowed. So I did a VSA for a few months full time. And I had the most amazing board with me. We're still friends. So together we managed to build this amazing community with students and young people in Utrecht. And we managed to get a lot of companies collaborating with us, giving us discount, hosting events with us, and really made them see how valuable it is for them to be associated with us and to be associated with a sustainable and young community. I don't know how many partners we had, but maybe like 30 companies around the Netherlands that were actively working together with us. So that was amazing.
Wow. Yeah, that's very impressive that you're able to grow it to be the biggest vegan student association in the Netherlands in just 4 months.
Yeah, all 4 of us in the board, we were just very motivated. And we were having so much fun while doing it. And then everything just becomes so much easier. And I personally also felt so motivated to be able to start something from scratch. So I was already a part of the Vegan Student Association in Groningen, another city in the Netherlands, before I moved to Utrecht. So I kind of knew what I wanted to start and why, because I knew that the community is really important and you don't want to feel alone going into this transition or just being vegan. It can be really lonely, which is one of the reasons why I didn't feel ready to become vegan when I wanted to become vegan, because I was still living at home without that community. So I knew how important it is. So that just made me feel so motivated, and I really had a purpose. It was fulfilling, and I woke up and just like, oh my gosh, imagine that I get to do this full time now and talk to all these amazing people that are really happy that this is happening. And all the students saying that it's so nice to not be alone in this, that there are so many people doing this, and almost all of us face the same problems. That if you're out with friends that aren't vegan, or you have a grandma that doesn't understand it.
Yeah, that's quite an inspiring story. What strategies do you have or did you use to really expand and grow the association?
I think that was mostly the partners that we managed to get on board to create this discount thing to make it cheaper to eat vegan in Utrecht. And also just to show, look how many companies have vegan options. I think that also made it way more attractive for people to be like, okay, well, I want to become a member because I am vegan or I want to become vegan. But also they have made it so much easier to see exactly where I can eat vegan. If I'm a member here, then I get discount here and here and here and here. That's 20 different places in Utrecht. That's really handy. I never have to think about it again. I think that was one big part, all the collaborations. And we also had really nice events. We had clothing swaps, potlucks, going to restaurants, go out for a beer, welcome drinks, like very social events, which was basically what everyone wanted, to just mingle and get to know other vegans. So that was really our focus. It was also during the pandemic, so we had to do a few months online. That was less inspiring for everyone, of course, but it still worked.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like quite a fun experience.
Yeah, it was really nice.
So afterwards, you worked at Brave New Food. What skills has working there enabled you to develop?
Well, so many different skills, of course, but I have to think of the language, first of all, because when I got the job, I was almost done with my last course of Dutch, which was so nice of them that they so wanted me, as I'm not fluent in Dutch. I learned it during the journey with them. So I learned the professional way of how to speak Dutch, which I didn't have before that. And also in English, of course. It was a bilingual job. Just trying out different marketing things, like on a professional level, on how to handle different platforms like HubSpot and stuff. That is something I would never have learned if I would do something by myself. And yeah, LinkedIn ads, newsletters, all the basics on how to handle a bigger company marketing wise. They gave me all that knowledge, and I did the scouting most of my time, learning how to contact people in a nice way, get them excited for something they don't know about, and being in contact with different people from around the world and finding ways to connect with them. I think that's the biggest skill.
Yeah, it's quite a global community, the alternative protein industry, and it's fantastic to get to speak with people from around the world and share their experiences.
Yeah, and especially since I mostly work with other startups, also in the sustainable food industry. So it was just amazing for me personally as well to get to know these people and hear their struggles and their wins, their success stories. It was just really cool to have the privilege to talk to them and get to know them very briefly. And so many of them as well, different stages, different products, of course, but mostly alternative protein.
Right. And maybe I should back up a bit. Maybe you can explain a little bit more about what Brave New Food does.
So Brave New Food is basically an open innovation platform where we have the big partners, the big corporate companies, and then we have the younger startups that are more sustainable, and then we want to match them to speed up the transition to a more sustainable food system. And then we also have a startup club where startups can get to know each other, mingle with each other. We'll have events where they can meet experts in a specific area. So we have a big network with food law professionals, sales experts, and people from the retail, people from the manufacturing sectors. So yeah, helping startups to grow and also connecting them to bigger corporates. And then we're talking like giants in the food industry that typically need a lot of time to change, because they have their old ways of doing things. So they need the mindset of a startup that you can change things and you can try things out. And we need to be more sustainable, more alternative protein, less plastic, more local, all of that.
Right. Okay, I get it now. So now I want to transition a bit and talk a little bit more about your experience with Fikat. So why did you decide to start selling plant-based cookies in a jar?
Well, it started when VSA was going to end, when I was almost done with my year, and I thought, okay, this was an amazing experience. I want to continue being in charge of my own time, doing something sustainable, doing something fun. And I love food. Food is one of my biggest passions ever. I like to cook it, but I mostly like to eat it and to go eat in different places, like city trips and just eat at restaurants. That's like my favorite activity ever. So I also knew that I wanted to work within the food sector. So then I went to my local grocery store and I went to every aisle and I looked at the different sustainable options. And then I saw that the cookie section was the least sustainable. Almost everything was in plastic. A lot of it was not vegan, and the vegan options were not that exciting. And very few companies were extra sustainable, like a company that goes extra mile to be sustainable. So then I thought, okay, here's a gap. Let's do something with that. And I'm Swedish, and in Sweden we have this very big tradition or habit that we like to sit down, enjoy some coffee, something sweet next to it every single day, and we call that fika. And we have these traditional cookies that we like to eat when we do a fika. They're smaller treats, quite sweet, but nothing crazy, like they're baked dry cookies. So I started with that in glass jars because glass can be endlessly recycled. and you can reuse it. It's very hygienic and beautiful. A lot of people like to reuse glass jars and you can make them look very luxurious. So I started with that, selling Swedish cookies in glass jars. Then slowly you transition, of course, and now we are making cookie dough treats in paper boxes that fit through your mailbox because we want to focus more on the gifting that you want to give someone for their birthday or graduation, anything. And our boxes go directly to the mailbox, so it's really easy to celebrate people for their special day. And the cookie treats are very traditional. They're based on the Swedish chocolate balls. And we plant a tree for every product that we sell. So we're still not using plastic packaging and fully plant-based. We don't use any palm oil and we make it all by hand. The core is still there to be as sustainable as possible and plant-based and Swedish. But what we're doing has changed quite a lot from the dry cookies and jars. So now we are way more flexible in that sense.
Wow. That's really outstanding work that you've done.
Thank you. Yes, it's been a very good ride. And just like with VSA, I have amazing people around me, and that really helps. My bakers are amazing.
So you mentioned it was a good ride, but I'm sure, like most experiences in life, there's going to be some hurdles or challenges you had to overcome. So what was the biggest challenge you faced and how did you overcome it?
Well, that's actually funny because I am pretty sure I am in that process right now. So Fika has been live for almost 2 years now, and I was struggling the last couple of months to see how I can grow Fika and still work at Brave New Food. So the solution was to quit at Brave New Food after 2 beautiful years. And in July, I will be able to focus full-time on Fika, which I think is the only way for me to do it. Because doing half-half worked really well when you just want to try something out, when it wasn't for sure that Fika was going to be a success or if I was going to like it. But now I know that it does work. People are happy and I do enjoy it. So that was a very hard decision to step out of the normal working life and to say goodbye to that for Fikat. But I did make the right decision. I am very sure of that. It's the only way for me to really give it a try and to really try to grow it and scale it up like it deserves. So I think this was probably the hardest hurdle Fika has had so far.
Right. And how do you feel that having a career in the plant-based food industry has transformed you?
Oh, it has transformed me so much. I feel that I am very much aligned with my values and everything that I enjoy, I get to do on a daily basis. I'm very passionate about food, veganism, being creative, and creating something by myself that I am in control of. I really like taking the lead and having a lot of responsibility. And I get to do all of that now. And it's something Swedish in the Netherlands, the 2 countries that are very close to my heart. I feel so lucky to be able to find this way of working and that I have a passion that I can actually work with every single day.
It's the old saying, if you love your work, you never really work a day in your life.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels even more like that when you can choose your own hours. So I work really well in the evenings, and then it also doesn't really feel like I'm working if I have a chill morning because I like to have a chill morning, and then I feel very creative and productive in the evenings, and then I just do something in the evenings. Yeah, it doesn't really feel like working.
So I know you mentioned that you want to do FUCAT full time, but how do you see yourself growing in the industry in the, say, next 5 to 10 years?
It's so exciting because I don't really know, especially like 10 years from now, no clue. 5 years, maybe a little bit of a clue that I would probably still be quite similar to what I'm doing right now. But even like a year from now, I have no idea how far we will be able to go. But I know I'm starting now with an accelerated program, and then I will hopefully get some professional help with what I should do right now. because now I feel like I'm in between two big decisions, focusing on only being online and maybe going international online, or focus on the Netherlands and getting into stores. Those are two very different paths. I still need to decide what I want for Fikat. But in 5 years, I think we will be at least big in the Netherlands, as in that vegans or Dutch people interested in Scandinavia will know about us. That feels like a very reasonable goal. And maybe our own production kitchen. Now we're in a shared one. Maybe we will have our own production, which will be really cool, and have planted so many trees. Now we almost planted 2,000.
Wow.
In 5 years, hopefully that's gonna be a lot more. And maybe once be able to visit trees we planted, because we use Tree Nation, so it's not planted in the Netherlands or Sweden, it's planted in Madagascar or Nepal. And go to visit a little forest of us, that would also be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be a really fun experience.
Yeah.
So, lastly, what advice do you have for job seekers in the alternative protein industry?
I think I would say to really show that you are passionate and interested for real. So joining student associations or joining different clubs, organizations, do some volunteer work for a vegan association or anything that would just show that you are truly interested. I feel that would help, especially if you would apply for a job where the founder or owner is also vegan or truly interested and didn't just start it for money. Because I know for myself, it is not the most important, but very important that the ones I work with have the same values as me, because otherwise it would feel like you're not truly aligned. And there are so many non-sustainable companies to work at. So if you really want to get into the true alternative protein sector, I would try to show that you are truly there for the right reason.
Mm-hmm. Mission alignment is key for especially small startups and organizations trying to grow and find their own identity.
Exactly.
All right, well then, is there anything else that you would like to add or discuss?
I just want to say that I think it's really cool that you're doing this podcast.
Oh, thank you.
I've been listening to more of it and really like the idea, and it's really inspiring. And just like with BSA, just hearing about other people's experience, knowing that you're not alone. It's really nice that you want to show the stories of other people.
Yeah, and I want to show people that they are not alone and that there's people all around the world. And I've been trying to get guests from various different countries to really emphasize that point.
Yeah, it's really nice. I'm going to continue listening.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And I appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was really nice.
Sandra's story proves that if you have a passion for alternative proteins and are willing to put in the effort, then you can find a career in this industry, or even make your own, which is why there's a place for everyone, including you, to be a part of the alternative protein revolution. If you want to learn more about careers in the alternative protein industry, please follow the Cultivating Careers in Alternative Proteins podcast on Instagram for weekly posts about episode releases, alternative protein resources, job boards, career advice, and so much more.